So first things first, we're going to go ahead and delete this empty layer. And in your shelf, there's a Smart Material tab. Go ahead and scroll down and you'll see steel. Go ahead and put that into the layers. Okay, let that process real quick. And then next, we're going to add the steel stain. Let's put that below the steel. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a mask to the steel folder. Go to this tab and add black mask. Once you've done that, go ahead, select this icon and choose add paint. And then on the left side, choose your polygon fill. And then we're going to choose that quad polygon fill and then just select the edge of this blade. And you could see that it's filling it up based on the faces of your mesh. Okay, do the bottom side. Okay, make sure you've got the back side too. All right, now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and go to our steel stain, and under steel base layer, let's go to our property fill, and then we're going to open up our basic material parameters. What we're going to do here is increase the saturation real quick, and then choose on the hue, shift it to around, let's say like an orangey gold, and then lower back the saturation to more like a bronze look to it. And then luminosity, go ahead and put that around 0.4, and we can adjust this later on and see how it's looking with the whole blade. Okay, next we're going to start doing our trim for the blade. So go ahead and collapse your steel in your steel stained folder, and then under smart materials, we're going to go to bronze armor, and we're going to put this on top of the steel. Let that calculate, and what we're going to do here is we're going to put a black mask, add black mask, and then add color selection. So now that we have our color selection, under your properties tab, click on the pick color and choose that trim. Okay, now we have color to the trim, and anything else that's blue gets that bronze armor color. Okay, so let's go ahead and collapse this bronze armor folder and hold Control and press D to duplicate it. And what we're going to do here is open up our color selection and then remove that that blue color by clicking on this remove tab, and then choose the green plate color. And what we can do here is go under bronze armor, go to your base metal, and then we're going to just shift the color to more reddish. Okay, and let's see here, we can adjust some of this part so an edge damages. Let's go ahead and shift that color too to somewhere around there, and then go back to our color selection and use the pick color and then choose this teal color. So now we have the curve and this guard matching the plate. Next, we're going to add a leather material to the strap. So under smart materials, choose leather damage. Scroll up and you'll see leather damage. Let's go ahead and put that on top. What we're going to do here is we're going to add a black mask and then add color selection. And then we're going to choose that yellow mask. And let's go ahead and remove or turn off the damaged layer. And then under base color, Let's shift that to a more darker color so it's not as brown. Okay. And then we want that inside to be the same color as the bronze. So go ahead and go back to your bronze armor folder and choose select color selection and choose that inside. Okay, now for the claw, we're going to go under smart materials and then choose bone stylized and put that on top. Go ahead and add a black mask and then add color selection and choose that claw. Let's go ahead and duplicate our bone stylized layer. So hold Control and press D to duplicate that. And then open up the duplicated folder, and under base, let's choose a darker red color. And then the same thing for the dirt. We're going to use like a darker color, maybe blackish red. Okay, let's just adjust the base a little bit more. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do a fade on this. So on your duplicated bone stylized copy, go ahead and add a paint. And now we can start using our brush. So under the shelf window, go to your brush and let's choose concrete light. And we can scale this brush down by holding Control, then right click and dragging it. So you scale that brush down, and to make sure your flow is around, let's say 20. And we're just going to start subtracting it little by little. We can lower the flow a little bit more to around 7. And we just want to remove some of this edge, the end part. Okay, you can move around your light in the scene by holding Shift and right clicking. So right click and drag by holding Shift. So what we're doing here is we're just removing some of that dark color on the tip of this claw. Make sure you have low flow setting. Mine's on 4 now. And just brush those dark colors away. Okay, we can scale down our brush by holding Control and right click and drag. And let's go ahead and increase our flow to around 40. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight some of these edges. Let's go back to around 20 on the flow. And just give it some highlight on the edge. Move around your light so you can see better. I'm just adding these highlights so that it feels like it's been worn off. Okay, and then rotate this and do the rest on the other side. Okay, you can zoom out and see how it's looking from afar, and just keep going with the highlights. So what we're doing is making sure that we're adding some of this light value to the breakups, to the cracks, to have some breakup, so it makes it look like it's been faded away. Okay, scale back our brush by holding Control and right click and dragging, and reduce our flow to around 3, and just start removing some of that dark stuff on the peaks of this claw. And also the back part. We can go ahead and add some highlight to the interior of this ring, maybe from rubbing against this rope. Make sure you do the other side too. After that, we can move on to the next part. For the rope, we're going to start with using a smart material, and then we're going to choose the leather damage. So let's go ahead and choose that and go ahead and drag and drop it to the layers. Let's close this real quick. So let's open that up. And then we're going to add a black mask to the folder. So let's choose that and add color selection. And then choose that rope. Now what we can do here is turn off damage. And for the color base, let's go ahead and make this a little bit brighter. Somewhere around there, that's looking pretty good. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add another layer of this. So just go on top and then add a fill layer. We can choose a darker color, let's say like a dark red, like really dark, and then lower the roughness value. Once we have that, let's create a black mask. And then on your shelf, let's go to your smart masks, and then we're going to choose edge strong. So go ahead and click and drag that to your fill layer. And then click on the mask editor, and on the properties tab, go ahead and turn on global invert. Let's zoom in on this. Then we can increase the balance just like that. Next, we're going to add colors to our leather bands. So let's go ahead and close our leather damage folder. And then under your smart materials in shelf, we're going to choose the leather stylized. So let's go ahead and choose that and drag it on top of your layers tab. Okay, and the same thing, we can go back to our masks, and then this time, since we're going to use color selection, let's go ahead and add mask with color selection. And then we can choose that band and also these part right here. So color pick these, make sure nothing else is selected. And then inside that folder, we can go ahead and click on our curvature. Okay, and then we can make this darker. And then for the roughness value, just slightly increase it to like 0.5 or something. It's looking pretty good. Next, we're going to do the beads. On the beads themselves, we're going to choose a plastic rubber. So in your shelf under smart materials, let's get that plastic rubber material. Okay, right here. So plastic rubber. Put that on top. What we're going to do is do a black mask. And then we're going to choose this icon right here so we can select the polygons. So we're just going to do this, and then we're going to duplicate the layer again. So select those faces. And then let's open up that folder, and let's see here. We can go to our color layer and then give it a slight saturation on color. So around there. And then for roughness, we can just increase this a little bit. Okay. And if you'd like, you could also remove the imperfections, the damages, if you want it to be more plastic and smooth. And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this layer. So if you hold Alt and then left click and drag on top of it, you can duplicate that layer. And then go over that folder and right click on it. And we're going to clear mask. And then do the same thing over to the center. And then slightly shift the base color to a different hue. Say like blue or something. And then do it one more time for the last one. Hold Alt and then drag it to the top. Right click on the black mask and then clear mask. And then we can select the last beads. And then let's go ahead and open up that color. And then let's shift the hue. And with the beads done, we can move on to the tassels. Now it seems like the leather stylized folder has been assigned to the guard and to that curve. So let's go ahead and remove that from the color selection. So let's go open up the folder, go to your mask, and add paint to it. Next, we're going to choose this icon so we can select the faces. And then on your properties, make sure it's on the black side. And just go ahead and select those to remove them from that folder. Okay, now we're going to start working on the tassels. So let's go ahead and collapse this folder. Let's create a fill layer and then put that layer into a folder. Just drag that in there. Next we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lower the value of this, make it like around like dark brown, and then the roughness low. Then on that folder, we're going to go add a black mask with color selection, and then choose that pink color. Next, we're going to duplicate this layer, so Control D on that layer, and then just make it a little bit brighter and more brownish. Somewhere around there. Then we're going to add a black mask to that layer and then add a fill. And under your shelf, we're going to go to our procedurals and type in fur. We're going to add that fur one to the grayscale. We can make this a little bit brighter. Just like that. Let's see here, just like that. And then go back to your layer and click on that fur one. So you get this setting in the properties fill. And then under projections, we're going to use triplanar projection. And then we're going to unlock this so we can control the X and Y. And then rotate this to around 90 degrees. Again, we can play around with the scale real quick. Somewhere around there, so 1.7. Then we'll just leave this to 1 real quick. And then go back to your solid color by clicking on this, and then increase your height to around 0.3. So you give it some normal map to that thing. Let's increase our roughness real quick. Actually, go to your procedural and add the anastrophic and add that to your roughness. What we can do here is we can rotate this around to around 90 degrees also. Okay, and make this also triplanar. Alright, that's looking better. Scale that, let's see here. Yeah, we can scale this down just a little bit more. Next, we're going to add a new layer. So click this fill layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a gradient color on the end and the tip part. So in your fill layer, we can go ahead and remove the height, roughness, metal, and normal map. So we're just going to use the color. And what we can do first is we can add a layer to that mask. And then add a paint. Then go back to that color and make this a little bit darker than the base. And what we're going to do here, we're going to start painting. Make sure you're on the brush mode. And then in your shelf, go to brushes and choose the hairline brush. Okay, we can scale that down by holding Control and right clicking. And then you can play around with the flow, and then go ahead and start adding these streaks on the end. You increase that if you don't see any. Okay, make this bigger if you need to. Make the brush bigger, I mean. And move around the light. So we're just doing the end part of this. And then for the tip part, we're gonna make it lighter. Okay, and go back to our solid color and make it darker, more red. Then go back to our layer and keep on painting. Let's see here, just needs a little bit darker. Okay. And just try to do a brush stroke in one direction, so from right to left. Okay, shift the light around by holding shift and right clicking to move the light. And once you're happy with that, we can go ahead and duplicate this layer, Control D. What we're gonna do is delete this paint layer and then create or add another one again. And then we're gonna make this brighter. It's like a brownish color. Let's see how that looks. Go back to your layer mask and just paint some of that on the tip part. Make sure when you're painting this, you're painting it on the right geometry, because if you do it here, it doesn't work because this is the mirrored part. So you gotta make sure you're painting on the master geometry. Okay, you can lower the brush size and then just keep on doing faded strokes to this. Okay. So we get that nice gradient going. Okay, and we can increase the color of this. Maybe make it more lighter. And then for the middle part, we can make it just a little bit more brownish color. So we have 4 layers on this. So let's go ahead and remove all the layers real quick to see. So we got the base layer, and then we got these like broad fiber strokes, which we made procedurally, and then we added the back dark side of this. Okay, and then we added the lighter tips. Try to blend the 4 layers as much as possible to get a really good result on this. So this is the final result of what I came up with the 4 layers using the hairline brush. And what I did was just kept on blending it as much as possible. And I could turn this on and off real quick to show you guys how I did this. So first we have the base layer again, and then the base, which I made it more saturated and brighter. And then the dark one, the dark part on the back, I just made sure that it has a nice fade to this, and then added the front. So just a little bit on the front side instead of halfway point, just a little bit on the tip.